Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. This is the report for May 4th, and I want to start off by saying we're going to jump right into the report, but we've had some really unseasonable weather. Last week we had very good fishing up into the weekend, and that weather came in on Monday and Tuesday. Air temperatures dropped about 30 degrees, and we'd had as much as a 7-degree water temperature drop in just a few days. So it's we're in a little shift here on the Delta, but things are still looking pretty darn good. We're going to get into all that. Let's start off with water conditions. Last week we're looking at about 73, 74 degree water temperatures as a high through the central Delta, and even in the northern Delta. I fished up north out of Liberty, and I had 73 degree water temps I think it was Saturday or Sunday. As I said, Monday that cold front came in and it dropped the water temperature by as much as 7 degrees in just a couple of days. Now it's rebounding a little bit, but unless we get some really warm weather before the weekend, you're probably going to be looking at mid-60 water temps throughout the Delta. Water clarity actually took a dip also. We still have water in the South Delta that's still maybe 1 to 2 feet of visibility. I had some friends that are out in Disco Bay, and they're still saying that it's 1 to 2 feet of visibility out there. Talked to Rob Cloutier. He had been fishing out at Frank's track, and it may be a couple of feet out there, but it hasn't really cleared up in a lot of those spaces. And it's really it's nothing that we can talk about. It's just different zones of areas have a little different water color and a little different clarity. I think, but for the most part, even though last week we may have had 4 to 5 feet of visibility in the central Delta, it's dropped down to maybe 3 or 4 feet of visibility. It's fine. The visibility is fine. The fish are still biting, but when you have that kind of temperature changes and clarity changes, it just kind of fools around with the bite, like Ken Moss said a couple weeks ago. It makes the bite funny. So the bite's still a little bit funny, but it's not as funny as it was a couple weeks ago. Everybody seems to be catching fish. A lot of big fish are coming out of the Delta, and a lot fewer skunks. I don't even think I got a report that anybody said they got skunked last week. Most people are catching fish, still not as good as we'd like to, but it's really on the upswing. So let's start off with stripers, and they are spread out throughout the entire Delta, from the Feather River, Sacramento Turning Basin, the Sacramento River through Rio Vista, and all throughout the Delta. The problem is they're spread out. The guys that are fishing out of Rio Vista are doing pretty good right in the main Sacramento River. A lot of them are trolling, I'll say from Decker Island up to Liberty. The Liberty area hasn't really turned on. There's a few fish in there. I know when I was up there we caught a couple of stripers, but it wasn't it was just in a bycatch of what we were looking for. We were looking for largemouth bass, but I think we picked up a couple stripers on chatterbaits. Not really flooded into the Liberty area. If you're going up there that way, I would start off somewhere around the bridge at Rio Vista and troll up and down the river there and see what you can get. I talked to Jeff Suhu. Jeff's doing really well. He's guiding a couple days a week. Last Saturday and Sunday he did very well with good quality fish in the 8 to 12 pound range, but he is he's having to move around a lot. He's still saying the fish are moving. They're not staying in one place. So his key to success is keep moving. He's been trolling Uzuri baits, and when he finds the fish, he'll stop and then he'll start spooning fish. Generally, when the fish are in one place and he can find them and they're easy to locate, Jeff will use live bait. But he's been trolling, finding the fish, and then spooning. Don't stay in any place that you're not catching fish. Keep moving. He said if you move enough, you're going to find fish. There's enough fish in the system now that you'll come across some fish. There's also a lot of fish in the bay. They're doing very well on the party boats, and the private boats are doing very well. Not big fish, but good numbers of fish. So those fish will be coming in the Delta. Jeff also said that he is finding fish, stripers, in all phases of spawn. pre-spawn to post-spawn. So they're in the river, they're being caught, and there's going to be more fish coming into the river, and we may have a pretty decent striper fishery. It may be late. Jeff is thinking about extending his season into June because he's looking at everything we're talking about and thinking that it's going to be a late run. So he's going to be extending his fishing, hopefully. And if you want to get a hold of Jeff, make sure you check out Jeff Suhu or Suhu Sport Fishing, and you'll be able to get a hold of Jeff, and he'll take you out and really show you how to catch those stripers. Let's get into the largemouth bass. And boy, the fishing has been really pretty good. Like he said, we had that oddball weather come in the first of the week, and it's kind of put a hold on the fish. Still catching fish, but it's not like it was. It was almost, I don't want to say it was on fire last weekend, but it was getting pretty darn good, and we were thinking as long as that weather stayed in the 80s or 90s, it was just going to continue to snowball. It hasn't snowballed, but it hasn't died. So here's the deal. Been getting reports for the last 2-3 weeks from Alan Fong. He's been killing it up north, fishing the tributaries of the Sacramento River, all the way up to the port of Sacramento. Big fish, good numbers of fish, catching them on chatterbaits, crankbaits, plastics. He loves to throw brush hogs. But again, I just want to say, nobody that I know of knows that area of the river better than Alan, and just because Alan's catching them up there doesn't mean that you're going to go up there and catch them. I'll talk about a couple of the trips that I made up there last week, and I'll give you some information to back that up. But anyhow, the fish are up there, and I really do believe the fish in the north right now are a little bit more consistent than the fish in the central delta. So what happened on my trips, I made 2 trips up there this week, and the first trip was with a couple of friends that are from out of town, and they decided we'd go up and just kind of do a scout around, and we moved around a bit, and we had, I would call, a slow day. We got fish for a half a day, and I think we got 6, 7, 8 bites. We dropped one fish that was about 5 pounds, caught a fish or two in the 2.5 pound class, and some bucks, but really didn't get on to fish. But as I kind of moved around the area out there, and again, we're fishing north of Rio Vista. We launched out of Rio Vista, and we started fishing everything north all the way up into the Liberty area. Went out a day later, and went out with my buddy Eli, and we just slaughtered them. Good fish, up to 6 pounds. We called a lot of 3 and 4 pound fish. Fishing, no particular place. We caught fish everywhere we stopped. Our primary baits were green punk and Cinco. Eli was doing very well on a craw colored square bill crankbait. We both caught fish on chatterbaits, both in fire craw and green pumpkin. Eli got a frogfish. We did a little bit of punching. We caught a couple of fish just kind of flipping and punching, but just very good fishing. We probably ended up with about a 25 fish day. I think that's been my best day of the year, and that was up north. I do know that a lot of the fish that weekend, Saturday and Sunday, a lot of the fish in the reports that I got were based around the weekend, and it seemed to be the hot days were set to fish were Saturday and Sunday. I'm not going to talk too much about tournaments, although there was an ABA tournament. I think they only had 9 boats. I want to hit my buddy Christian up. Christian won the tournament with over 20 pounds. That's Christian Oslander. 9-boat tournament. I think the average guys were getting about 13, 14 pounds, but remember, these guys are all sticks in that tournament. There's not one guy out there that can't bust a 25-pound limit on any day. So, not great weights for that level of fishermen, so the Delta is still not fishing like it should. We're going to be a month to 6 weeks late, and I think we're still going to really have some good fishing out here, and it's starting. I did fish the Central Delta one day, and I wanted to go out and throw some big wake baits. We've had that full moon, so I went out a couple days before the full moon, and I got out there about 3 in the morning. I had a couple hours to throw big wake baits. I fished them over flats that I think there's going to be some big fish on. I didn't get a bite. But as soon as the sun came up, I switched over to a smaller walking bait, River to Sea bubble walker, and I think I had 6 blow-ups in the first hour of daylight when I caught 4 fish, most of them in that 3-pound class, 2.5 to maybe a little over 3. So there is a morning bite that's happening if you want to get out early, but that bite stopped about an hour after the sun came up. I suspect there could be a pretty decent bite in the evening if you wanted to stay out till dark. So keep in mind, keep your frogs on, keep your topwater baits on early and late. I wouldn't come out and do a night trip just yet. I'm going to start looking at that. If I start getting some fish after dark, I'll let you guys know. Stay with your plastic still, crankbaits or shallow crankbaits. You can throw either lipless or square bill. Keep them in the craw colors, green pumpkins and blacks for the worms. Pitch when you're around wood. You want to be pitching. If you can pitch as far into the tules or wood as you can. You want to stay on the first hour of a moving tide. I don't care if it's high moving out or low moving in. You want to stay on the first couple hours of that tide. And we're going to talk about tides next week a whole lot, because I think in the next couple weeks, and as the fishing gets more and more consistent, it's going to be very consistent, or much more consistent, but very tide related. And I'll give you my ideas on what I think is going to happen as far as the tides and stuff go next week. So I want to thank all of you for watching. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, and until next week, we'll see you guys on the water. Thanks for watching.